time listener, welcome to the CCFM family where we are changing lives for good. We are currently now live on Facebook and YouTube, and you know why that is, right? I mean, it's a Wednesday. She's not live in studio, but we still have her. She's joining us live on Facebook and YouTube, and she's here to chat about how to unlock sales in your business. Nokwazi, welcome. How are you, darling?
How are you, Sisaka? How are you, darling? How are the amazing, wonderful, extraordinary viewers and listeners of Unlocked with Nokwazi at In Season with Sake at CCFM 107.5? That's the dial. We're here on a
Ooh.
Wednesday, right?
We are, and I think we are having some connectivity issues because you are buffering there for a good moment. But you know what? We shall, carry on. Forward we go. Now, Ngozi, today's topic is very important for any business, right? We are discussing how to grow sales in your business. And knowing that we are in Heritage month rather, and it is absolutely important for us to also or rather for local businesses, for them not to feel left out. So this is for you. This show, this program is for you, as we're also celebrating Heritage Month, with regards to local businesses manufacturing local products. Now, how is important is it for businesses to grow sales in their scales?
You know what?
Can
Let's
you hear?
start off with the importance of Heritage Month, right? Heritage
Mhm.
Month is really we're just giving a big shout out to all of us in South Africa, in Africa, to really just
Yes.
celebrate the diverse aspects of our culture, the richness of our culture, the aspects that make
Mhm.
us who we are, right? Because we're vibrant, we are African, we are beautiful,
Yep.
we are very inviting in terms of just the colorfulness of how we are, how we're made, how we embrace
Mm.
others. And Africa really for me is a kind of place where it's all about embracing different people from different walks of life. I mean, we've
Yeah.
got various languages that we speak, and yet all of those
Oh.
languages still
Mhm. Okay, I think I'm losing you there for a
have a
second.
place, even in a business from other parts of the world. So I think that's why, for me, September is such an important month as we really venture into understanding who we are, why we are, what makes us who we are, and why should we celebrate
Mhm.
people that are different from us, that don't speak the same language, that
Yeah.
don't have the same cultural aspects of and values. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
So as
beautifully
we
said. That
kickstart
is amazing. Yes. Can you hear me?
what I wanted us to talk about today is, yeah, I can hear you very clearly. One of the key things that we
Fantastic.
really want to unpack today, Sasaki, is the aspect of
Mhm.
how do we grow sales for our businesses, right? And really to just
Mhm.
really break down in terms of what is a sale. Like when someone says, I have secured a sale, or my sales revenue has grown or increased, just in plain English, what is someone saying? And why should
Mhm.
anybody care? And the reason why sales is such an important thing for any business is the aspect that growth is really measured by increase. It's by being
Mm.
able to move from one aspect of a matrix to the next aspect of a matrix, right?
Yeah.
It's moving from 0 to 100 rands. So if your business moves from making a revenue of 100 rands to 200 rands, there's growth there, there's an increase. Or when they move from a 200 to 500, we measure that in the form of revenue. But what is underpinning that we call revenue? It's sales, it's the growth of the
Mhm.
business in terms of being able to bring in additional new aspects of clients, of customers, of people that have come in, whether they are existing customers, to come back and buy your products and services, right? So really, a sale is really what every entrepreneur, what every business owner dreams of. Sometimes we talk about it in the sense of a contract. A contract
Mm-hmm.
really is just the legal term of a sale that has taken place. So sometimes we spend more time saying, I just signed a contract. What someone is saying is that I just have now on pen and paper the ability to grow my business because of the projected income that will be
Yeah.
made out of that contract. Right. Yeah. So when we talk
Mm-hmm.
about sales, in the context of entrepreneurship, we do want to invite every entrepreneur, every business owner to really
Yeah.
just dial in and send a text on our WhatsApp line and be able
Mm-hmm.
to just give an idea of what are your challenges in relation to sales? What are your challenges in terms of being able to secure a sale? Where have you lacked? Where have you struggled? And what really is that struggle in terms of being able to either bring in a new sale or even just for customer retention, in terms of being able to retain the people that have already bought from you at some point in time
Mm-hmm.
or another. Okay. So
Yeah.
one of the two things, yeah, sorry, Saki, you wanted to say something before I go ahead.
No, I just wanted to share the WhatsApp line for first time listeners. So we want you to tell us, are you struggling with sales for your business? Let us know on our WhatsApp line on 061 1075.
Okay, perfect. So one of the key things that we want to talk about, Sasaki, when we're talking about a sale, is that there are two things that I want every entrepreneur to think about, right? There's what we call a boiler room, right?
Uh-huh.
And then there's something called a boardroom. When we talk about, there's a current reality and a future reality in everything that's a potential sale, that's a potential opportunity, right? In any
Mm-hmm.
commercial enterprise, any business, any corporate sector client, any government sector client, there's the world of the business, which is the boardroom. That's the strategic intent, right? And then there's the world of operations, the boiler room. That's the technical parts. Those are the people that are in the production plant. Those are the people that are behind the scene doing the real work in any typical customer environment, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about a sale, you want to get to someone that's going to sign on the dotted line and give you a contract. But the key
Mm-hmm.
thing is you need to understand and study and research your customer environment. Who is this potential client that you're looking at? And what is their world of business, which is the boardroom, the strategic intent? Why would they buy from you, right? What service are you offering that would encourage them to buy? You need to understand the potential client in terms of their strategic intent and their world of operations, the boiler room, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the opportunity to unlock profitable value lies in the gap between these two worlds, right? You need to
Mm-hmm.
know the current reality, the now. What are they doing in relation to that service currently? How are they rendering that service and current? And what's the potential future reality that you want to sell to them? The profitable value lies between those two gaps, right? And so the key things that we never really talk about when we look at a sale is that the real tangible ability to be able to secure a sale is by first understanding your customer, your client, to deeply understand their customer environment, right? To be able
Mm-hmm.
to then, based on that, develop a customer value proposition, something that will determine what's the value that you're bringing between their boiler room as well as their boardroom, right? How then leverage, you need to understand how that service is going to be rendered, how you're going to communicate that potential customer value proposition, how you're going to deliver it, and what is the resultant outcome that is going to give to the client, right? It sounds
Yeah.
a little bit complicated when I explain it this way, but the most basic way to understand it when you think about understanding the customer environment is to know that the boardroom, right, is where
Mm-hmm.
customer, the potential client that you want, they have a vision. You need to know what is the vision of their business. They've got goals, right? You need to understand what are those goals and how they align with what you are trying to do for them. What is their
Mm-hmm.
strategy? Is it to outsource services or to in-source services, right? What's the
Yeah.
structure of that operation? Is it a government which is then regulated in terms of how they procure services, or is it a corporate sector client that has got a different set of rules, or is it a man on the street and what is influencing them to buy, right? When you talk about an institution, they're going to have a shareholder value. They're going to have certain things for them that are important, right?
Mhm.
Then that's the current reality. You need to then know in terms of the boiler room the same aspects. The boiler room, when you look at a potential client, you're looking at their production, right? You're
Mhm.
looking at their management structure, right? You're looking at their quality, right? Their health and safety aspects, the
Yeah.
logistics, the HR, all of those things. They may sound complicated, but you can research and get all of that information from the potential customer's website. You can get it from their financials, which they announce, that will tell you all of those different aspects. Now, the big question is, why would you want to know all of this information?
Yeah.
Is that you need to understand that when you go and you're trying to secure a sale, you need to address the hierarchy of the decision makers from the executive level, which is the strategic,
Mm.
middle management, which is the commercial, that are evaluators, and the way that they look at a bid is very different from how executive level is making a decision on whether they should insource or outsource services, right? And
Mm.
then there's operational, which is the end users. A lot of entrepreneurs don't know what they, when we submit a proposal and they're adjudicating it, all of those elements that you've submitted will be broken down to different set of a team making a decision, right?
Mm.
Procurement at different aspects of what you've submitted, mostly the commercials, right? Health and
Yeah.
safety will look at the questions that have been asked regarding health and safety and how well you understand the health and safety procedures that you'll have to adhere to, right? The
Mhm.
financial, looking at the financial value proposition of what you're offering. So someone may assume that they're just submitting a tender. That tender
Yeah.
is, decision maker is not one person. It's a different hierarchy of value experiences, right? And a
Mm.
hierarchy of different decision makers, and all of them are zoning in at different elements of what matters to them in the decision making. This is
Mhm.
why a lot of the time, a lot of entrepreneurs will receive a response to say that we regret to inform that you're unsuccessful, right? And if you're to probe and say, please give me some feedback, you would see a scoring that's been done on that proposal submitted, because health and safety will score it in relation to how they're looking at your health and safety compliance.
Yeah.
Procurement will score it in relation to how they're looking at the commercial value proposition. The aspect of the the boiler room, the people that will
Mhm.
most likely be utilizing that service, they'll be looking at your experience, that we're looking at your supervisors. That's why you'll find a lot of bids will tell you, give us a maintenance manager with 5 to 10 years experience. But what a lot of people they'll overlook, they'll just give whoever they have. Then when they're looking at the bid, they realize this person doesn't have 5 to 10 years experience. Automatically, they mark you at zero.
Sure.
Not that you didn't answer the question, they cannot allocate a point because you've not been able to give them that will give them satisfaction that you have the experience. You might have the experience,
Mm.
but they're evaluating it. There has to be a framework that they're using, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is why,
Sure.
when you think about it, it becomes even harder for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners to even pitch at the level of corporates, because the corporates are
Mhm.
looking at it completely different. There's no tender process. The process is a request for proposal that you're submitting. In it, they're evaluating the various elements that matter to them. And you can't argue
Mm.
because that's framework of how they make a decision, right? And so
Yeah.
even when you're looking at, again, I'm selling to just one customer, and that's the customer, that's the man on the street. The man on the street, you need to look at them from the same level of what LSM is this
Yeah.
particular potential customer that you're looking at. What's influencing their buying decisions? What's
Yeah.
influencing their what's left in their pocket to be able to have the kind of disposable income to use to buy that you're selling, right? All of those things you
Mm.
need to study. This is why there's always a lot of debate around going into social media and all of the adverts that are constantly being projected to us in all the various platforms. And you look
Yeah.
at, if you have at some point research on a particular item, then you start getting a lot more in relation to that particular item. It's because what they're doing is data analysis. They are looking at what interests you when you're searching. They are looking at your search engine
Mm. Yeah.
prompted words where you're constantly saying dresses under 1,000 rands or whatever it is.
Mm.
Then they start
Yeah.
feeding you more of that because social media operates on the analysis of data to be able to advertise to that potential person that seems more interested in a particular commodity or a service.
Mm.
But it's the
Mm.
same thing with you as an entrepreneur and business owner. You have to get to a point where you have a framework that you're using to understand to that potential client that you're looking at to be able
Mhm.
to do a sale with them. You have to start understanding the science between how are they making a decision. And if they've said no, there's a reason why they've said no. It simply means you did not meet the criteria or the category that they're using to make a decision. There's a
Yeah.
science to it. So we talk about how to grow sales, and a lot of people want a warm, fuzzy feeling. But clients are making decisions not just on the emotional, it's also on the commercial, it's also on the health
Mm.
and safety compliance. And you would wonder how you are focused on providing a service and yet you do not even know anything about health and safety compliance. You may
Mm.
not be a subject matter expert, but when you're submitting a bid, go to someone that does health and safety and ask them to help you answer those questions. Be able to save them, then you know how to answer them the next time you ask those questions. Don't copy and paste because they are looking at a specific response in order to be able to allocate a point. So
Mm. Sure.
pace of a proposal that they last did when they started the company 15 years ago, and yet that's not what the client is asking. When they're asking you, what
Mm.
is your experience? You can't say, I've been at it for 20 years. No, no, no. What is your experience? My experience is I have facilities management experience of 18 years. Oh, now just put a lump sum to say I've been here for a very long time. Sorry.
Mm. Sure. Yeah, not a problem. Listen, if you are an entrepreneur and you're listening right now, you have a local business, and you are just, have this big question on your shoulder. How do you up sales in your business? How do you grow sales in your business? Let us know. Ask that question away on our WhatsApp line on 061 798 1075. Sis Nokwazi is joining us on the other side. She's not live, but she's here to take all of those questions and help you with the answers that you need. Now, because you touched on social media, and how, it is advised that a business should tap into that scene with regards to marketing. Can marketing help grow sales in businesses?
Okay, that's always a very interesting argument. In fact, I was having a discussion with a marketing team in Durban, right? Um,
Yeah.
the reason why people think marketing is luxury is because when you do marketing, you cannot measure the output. And so when I say you can't measure the output, right? If I pay for a social media expert that does social media for us, right? And then they
Yeah.
put in some beautiful adverts, they do posts and do all of that. How do I measure what is the return on the business, right? So, marketing drives sales. Marketing
Mm.
does not necessarily equal into a sale. It drives the process, right? It's
Yeah.
basically what I would call someone announcing that someone is coming, right? You know, like the role of John the
Mm.
Baptist.
Yeah.
Yes, there's someone coming after. He is the son. Okay,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. He was not the one, but he was there to announce, and he knew what
It was
his role
marketing.
is. He was
Yeah.
marketing. like, hey, the one who's coming
Yeah.
after me, I'm not even worthy to touch his sandals.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
John the Baptist was. To me, he's like the
Mhm.
marketer, the greatest marketer of our times, right?
Mhm.
And basically, he did it so well. He never confused the matter that he was the one. He just kept saying, the one that is coming is the one, right? He was
Mm.
sent
Yeah.
from God. Okay. You've got to understand the role of your marketing. If you're spending like maybe 2,000 rands on social media, that it's there to announce you so that when you then go and knock the door, you still need to go and have a properly structured business development strategy, right?
Mhm.
Business development strategy to say, what is it, the steps that I will do as a business or as an institution or as an SMME, the steps that will be followed by the business on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and then you're able to look at it on a monthly basis, that will then result in a sale. So the marketing is going to tell or inform potential buyers of who they are. That's why you cannot use every marketing platform that's there. You need to
Yeah.
first understand what I was talking about earlier. Who's your customer? What is their customer environment, right? Who are the decision
Mhm.
makers? What's the boiler room makeup and what's the boardroom makeup? Because you will find that if you're dealing with the corporate, they're not going to Instagram to go and secure a service provider, for example,
Yeah.
for um, business development support services. That's not what they're going to do. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? They would
Yeah.
send out a request for proposal. Once you've submitted the request for proposal, when they start doing research on you, they will then find out, oh, first they'll Google your name. They'll just say, okay, what's in that name? That's why a
Yeah.
name can either be a pattern or it can be a key, a door that opens up.
Oh.
That's why your name now, what you've done with your name matters because when they go in and just Google your name, because you're an SMME, an entrepreneur, they want to know who they are, who you are, right? And so if
Yeah.
you've got the wrong postings on social media and you've got the wrong images of you that don't line up with the story of what you've told this corporate you can do, automatically they may not want to be aligned or associated with the brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
This is why your marketing needs to tell your story of who you are, but where you tell the story also matters because it has to be in the spaces that your potential customer would be able to go into those platforms and find a story that is positive. They will not
Mhm.
go to social media and announce that they're looking for a business development support services company, right? But they would be on LinkedIn not announcing that they've got
Mm.
a request for proposal, but talking about what they are doing within that space. So you can use the template of LinkedIn to gather all of them, the boiler room,
Yeah.
the aspect of who are the decision makers in the boardroom, what are they saying? Because they'll tell you because they have to post. But LinkedIn is
Mhm.
professional, so they're telling about their story. So you can use all of those different spaces to gather some research and data, right? And then
Mhm.
you then decide to say, this is how you want to market your story. You want to market your story on LinkedIn. For example, with our show, everything that we've done will be on YouTube, right? It will also be
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. It will also be on Facebook. But it's because those are professional websites. And they're also the kind of websites where, as a business and entrepreneurship show, I might not necessarily be everyone's, you know, typical candidate to be on Instagram. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Instagram. I just don't see the
Mhm.
fit. And perhaps when we're doing
Mhm.
something else in the business, we could. I don't see it. And because we're doing things in relation to the business outcome, I don't do stuff because everyone else is doing it, right? So if someone is then looking at a bid that was submitted as a company and then they research and they find out, oh, she's on LinkedIn, automatically every time I'm submitting a bid, I see the same people going to check me on LinkedIn. All of a sudden I see
Mm.
them as my connections, but it's because
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that on Facebook, which is very interesting, but I see it on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden they can click when it takes them to YouTube, because that's a safe platform for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to do a little bit more research, then look at your typical website. Like, what are you saying about yourselves? This is why you need to understand the customer that you're pitching to, and understand what's the makeup of who they are, and how are they making decisions. If you want to do serious business in South Africa, you've got to market yourself and position yourself in a way that is appealing to that specific corporate, because for them it's brand association. They will not want to
Mm-hmm.
associate with the brand that will drag them down the drain, or that may look like you're not operating at the level where they're operating, because corporates are in the business of risk mitigation. Anything that's a
Yeah.
perceived risk, whether the way that you are telling your story, the way that you're marketing yourself, being on the kind of platforms where they might not necessarily want to be associated with those platforms, all of that would give them sufficient reason, even if you had the best proposal submitted to them, to just sit and say, this is a bit of a risk. They'd rather go the traditional route
Oh.
of the traditional association, for them, that they know that they will still be not exposed in a way that, would really tarnish their brand. So this is why
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to look at social media in relation to, it is a tool to market, but what exactly are you marketing, and are your potential customers in that particular platform? If the question is
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 then that's not where you should be marketing yourself. You've got to
Yeah.
look at it in relation to the person that you're marketing to, not in relation to yourself. You just want to be everywhere, and you, does that make sense? It doesn't really work. You know what I mean?
Sure. I hope you, as an entrepreneur of an SMME, you are taking down notes, because this is an important arm of your business. Now, how will the upcoming OSA Business and Entrepreneurship Conference assist SMMEs to grow their business?
Okay, perfect. Right. So one of the key things that we really had to ask ourselves is, there's so many conferences, and why should anybody care about yet another business and entrepreneurship conference? But the key thing is that, what's the walkaway point for the entrepreneurs when they walk out? The key thing for
Yeah.
us is, we've always looked at four important pillars in terms of impact, right? Is to inform,
Hmm.
to impart, inspire, so that there is territorial impact in the things that we're called to do. That's the four things. And so when we look at it, is, what is the real value? What's the benefit to the SMME and the entrepreneur and
Hmm.
the business owner and the leader? It's creating access to markets and access to capital, right? So one of the big things, when you're asking me that question, it's basically all answered in the creation of access to markets, because now we are then having to sit down as an organization, and every corporate that will be invited is one where we know that every entrepreneur can get business from them, right? So they
Hmm.
need to be in the spaces where entrepreneurs can get business, right? That's the access
Yeah.
to markets. And so the access to markets is also understanding in terms of the programs that are currently being run by the corporate, to be able to enable or create the kind of platform that allows easy business to business association with small business owners. For example, what it means is they've created programs that are really spearheading the creation of access to supply chain opportunities to SMEs. We cannot
Yeah.
bring in the kind of corporate that's not interested and hasn't created the kind of vehicle that is really
Mm.
pro SME inclusion in their supply
Yeah.
chain opportunities. Because when they do that, it means that SMME already has a special access to entry in relation to that particular opportunity, right? So yeah,
Mm.
that will be a major program of how we are framing this entire business and entrepreneurship conference, so that there is access to markets and access to supply chain and access to capital for the entrepreneurs, right? And I know we need to keep it short and sweet today, just because of the network issues that we're having.
Yeah.
But what I did want to encourage everybody is that it is Heritage Month, and as we celebrate Heritage Month, there's so many other things that we're celebrating in business. I mean, I was speaking to one of the entrepreneurs who was telling me that this week is the week for wheels. You know how you set up your estate and you register a wheel. There are
Mm.
things that we
Yeah.
haven't done as entrepreneurs that we really start looking at getting our house in order, right? And I was
Mhm.
so amazed at how passionate this entrepreneur is about wheels. They're called MJA Consulting. You must check it out. But really, they're there to make sure that your estate is in order, right? We're running these
Yeah.
businesses, we're doing all that we need to do, but we need to make sure that our foundation of how we stand as business owners is just framed correctly. So you do need to
Yeah.
have a wheel. If this is the week as entrepreneurs where we are celebrating the wheels week, you know what I mean? So get in touch
Yeah.
with them. They're called MJA Consulting. But there are other very important aspects in business. It's like Heritage Month. It's an important opportunity for you as an entrepreneur to get together your potential customers and take them out to a place that they wouldn't normally go and start to
Yeah.
engage and build relationships with them, right? I know it's not always
Mhm.
easy, but if you've got a little event or something that you know that would be interesting for a potential client that you want to do business with, invite them out, get to know them. Don't go there and tell them, I want this, I want this, I want that. Just build relationships, build strategic relationships,
Mm.
get to understand what's important for them, how are they making those decisions. And so for us, even as business owners, it's time for us to get out of the normal context of waiting to receive, but going out there and putting ourselves out there to build those relationships, to be able to build that bridge, that by the time you're receiving the request for proposal, you're receiving the tender, you've got insight, you've done research, you understand in terms of the boiler room, the boardroom, the strategic intent, their vision, their goals, where they're going as an institution, what's going to be important
Mhm.
to them that will help you develop a value proposition that will be so compelling that the client can sit and say, this is the kind of entrepreneur or small business that we really want to work with. It's more than just
Yeah.
the numbers that you're submitting in the proposal.
Sure. I love that. On that note, I have to love and leave you. But before I let you go, where can, our young entrepreneurs get to chat to you a little bit further with regards to the queries and how to grow sales further from today? Did you get that?
Okay, so let's say if you've got the upcoming business conference, send us an email. We are setting up a different email just for the conference, but you can for now send to nokwazi@osagroup.co.za. The number
Mm.
that has been put aside for the conference is 071 177 2565. To register, you can give us a call. And thank you for just even the correspondence that we've received on the emails last week. It was very encouraging to just see the interest that is out there in terms of
Yeah.
business and entrepreneurship. We'll start having like a little banner on CCFM that every time we're running a show for the next 3 months, it will just tell you all the contacts for the business and entrepreneurship conference. I did say that it's at the Redison Blue 22 Rubik Street. It
Yeah.
is now called ACO, that building. So they've just done a name brand change, but it's still at the Redison Blue, which is now called ACO at 22 Rubik Street.
Hmm.
The dates are the 30th November 2023, and it's really exciting just to put together the program and to work with all the different stakeholders and just to speak to the entrepreneurs, to speak to corporate institutions, to speak to government,
Yeah.
and just everything that is really exciting for us as a business in terms of being able to make sure that in the season there's territorial transformation in Cape Town
Come
that
on.
ensures that there's access for every entrepreneur, because all of us and all of you
Mm.
guys deserve a chance of business.
Hashtag Kingdom Come Agenda. And that is how we wrap it up today. Sis Nokwazi, thank you so much for your time. And please get well soon and hope to have you back live in studio next week, Wednesday. Have a blessed one. Thank you.
Now, thank you so much for the well wishes.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. That was